Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs, getting ready to talk a little bit of college wrestling. Coach, beautiful weather we're having here. Have you been out on your bike? Have you been using the good weather to get out, cover some road on your bicycle? Big rider.
I've not been on the bicycle. I've not been on the motorcycle, but I've been on the golf course twice.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Going pretty well, actually. You see, yesterday, very windy. So it was like a 3-club day, I think,
Oh,
maybe even 4 clubs different. So, but
yeah, we're waiting for the opportunity to. Yeah, some of the courses in the area have opened up and stuff earlier than normal, and uh, we'll get out on the course here as soon as we can. So awesome. Well, big weekend for the state teams. Iowa headed down to Oklahoma State, big win there. UNI and Iowa State had big wins this weekend. Not quite the Missouri team we're expecting to come. We can touch on that a little bit, but all three teams ended their seasons with the regular seasons with dual victories. Let's start with the one in Stillwater on Sunday. The University of Iowa, ranked fourth in the coaches poll, went down to Oklahoma State. The only other undefeated other than Penn State, and that changed certainly. But Oklahoma State ranked number 2 before that duel, and I really would say from top to bottom, I think this was Iowa's best overall performance in a duel this season.
Without question, when Iowa came to wrestle, they were shooting off the whistle. They were continuing to shoot throughout the match, and in my opinion, that was definitely the best outing, comparing the competition level of the season for sure. And man, did they really need that too, getting into the season, or at the end of the season into the tournaments. So what a great way to end the season and springboard right into the Big Tens.
Yeah, and even in the matches that they lost, Brody Teske and Fix at the end, Teske was being the aggressor. He had to be because he was down, but you know what I mean? He was still, trying to accomplish something there. And the loss that Voinovich had, the takedowns that he gave up were off his shots. They were, Williams was able to counter. I mean, I think there's a positive there. Arnold up to 184, hung with Dustin Plott, even though he wasn't really able to get any offense going, but certainly hung in there with the number 2 guy. So there's some positives even with the matches that they dropped. But was there any match that really kind of stood out to you? I have a couple in mind, but any matches that really kind of stood out to you as far as this was the highlight for Iowa?
Well, just probably Franek and Kennedy stand out to me. I mean, they came to, and even Woods, who didn't put a lot of points on the board, still was out shooting and firing, and actually no one really stands out. They all stand out. I mean, like I said, and you kind of summarize the losses there. Fix, I was expecting Fix to maybe be able to put bonus points on the board. With bonus points easier to get this 3-point takedown. Hey, no, Teske had nothing to do with that. So that makes that decision at 33 maybe a little easier or maybe a little tougher. I don't know where they were at on that. So, and we'll find out there. With Arnold, Platt's number 2 in the nation. Arnold hung with him, never got. I don't know that if he really got a shot off the entire dual match.
Right.
And so there's a true freshman wrestling a seasoned veteran that's number 2 in the nation and hanging with him. So that bodes well for the future. I don't know if they take the red shirt off him. I don't think they do. But they'll have to evaluate the team and what's best there. Voinovich, like you said, got in at least 3 times in on that throughout the match on that double to single, and then but the difference there was Williams was able to finish it. Voinovich wasn't. So kudos to Williams, and Voinovich has got some work to do if he ends up being the man there at 49.
Yep. For me, I think on paper, the Caliendo win over Olenek was a big one, even though Caliendo has beaten him in the past. Olenek's had a really good season this year and has had some big wins. I think that was a good one for Caliendo, who was coming off 2 losses. Keter's win. Doucette's not a bad heavyweight. That's a guy that's kind of on that borderline, maybe podium guy, round of 12 guy. And he won 5-1, had a nice reversal and 2 near fall in the third. Did a nice job. I think rode him out, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
he was tough on top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he got one pointer. Well, that was earlier in the match, so I think, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that was when he escaped in the second period.
Yeah.
So, I think that was a good win. I agree with you. I still think the red shirts for both stay intact. But you never know. I just don't know if the reward is there to, just depends, I guess, how much you value possibly getting second over fourth, third or fourth. Is it worth that to set things up for next year? And I'll say, just kind of looking at things in the past, Cale Sanderson has not necessarily forfeited things, but there have been years where he's decided, you know what, we're redshirting guys and we're going to get things lined up for a future run. If that means we get 6th, 7th, or 8th this year, so be it. And then he's had juggernaut teams that went on a 4-year run. I think that would be something Iowa could set up here after this year, because I think everybody's in agreement. Nobody's touching Penn State this year. They're nobody, not an improved Oklahoma State. Nobody from the ACC. Iowa isn't. So the reward to pull the red shirts, just I don't think it's there. Not individually, not team wise, but I don't get paid to make that decision, right?
Right.
But that's just my take on it. It sounds like you're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, I've been that way for quite a while, and the only exception would be, and I've said this before, is at heavyweight. If Keter's an NFL prospect in 3 or 4 years or whatever, will he be around to enjoy a red shirt fresh wrestling season? So, or will he even still be playing football? Will he even still be wrestling? There's a lot of ifs there. So
right.
So that's a question mark there. So that one kind of is a little more open maybe than Arnold. I think Arnold doesn't redshirt at all. I really don't think Keter should either, but that's not me. And you and I don't make the big bucks like you said. And I've kind of been in that camp for most of the season, at least the last half here. And I don't think anything's changed. Like you said, they haven't really shown anything that they're great competitors, but they're going to be even better next year. So,
some of the other results, Drake Ayala, nice job, gutting out a win, getting a takedown, actually cinching up a cradle and putting Spratley on his back. Almost had a fall there in overtime. But he got things started off with a win. Then Franick. If you haven't seen it already, for our viewers, go to the Gazette.com. I had a feature on Jared Franick going into the Oklahoma State meet. Not a lot of D1 wrestlers have come from North Dakota. Kind of mentioned how growing up he heard story of the Steiners, Troy and Terry Steiner, that grew up in the Bismarck area, came to Iowa. One was a 4-time All-American and NCAA champ. One was a 3-time All-American and NCAA champ for Dan Gable in the 90s. He talked about Scott Schiller, who was the upperweight for Minnesota that actually came from his own high school, Fargo. I think it was Fargo West High School there in Fargo, North Dakota. And their families were close, but not a lot of D1 representation out of North Dakota. And that's something that he kind of, it's not like at the forefront, that's not what's pushing him or anything, but he does make a point to talk to kids and say, hey, when he goes back for camps and clinics and talks to them and, hey, this is something, look, I'm doing it, you can too, and really is, really views the importance of his impact on young wrestlers, especially those from North Dakota, letting them know, hey, it's there for you. Here are the examples. Steiner, Schiller himself, as guys that have parlayed hard work and dedication into being an All-American at the D1 level.
That's interesting that you bring up the few big names that come out of North Dakota. It made me think of other states, like that's kind of something to be that at that level out of a state like North Dakota. Like I think of Utah. Who do you think of? The Sandersons, and then who? And you think of Florida.
Are the Lofthouses from Utah?
It might be.
That might be the only one.
Yeah.
That might be the only other one other than the Sandersons. But anyway.
So, and then Florida, like is it Bono, I think, from Florida? And then you can pick a couple others. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but there's something to be said for that. That's an interesting take. I like that.
Yeah. So you can see that at Gazette.com. And of course, he bucked the Pilcher curse, came up with a win there against the top 10 opponent, Teague Travis. You mentioned Kennedy and his bonus point victory, which really helped Iowa there in the second half of the duel. And then how about Zach Glazier? Okay, it's going to sound like a broken record, but okay, so I don't root for wrestlers or teams, right? And I know that might upset fans of Iowa State UNI. I don't root for them. I cover them. I report on them. I do like good stories and hope good stories play out. And I say that for the fact is that I'm extremely happy for Zach Glazier, because whether fans want to admit it or not, he was one of the ones that they were looking to push out or wanted replaced. Mm-hmm. You can see it on message boards. You heard people talk about it, face to face. And look what he's done this year. He's put together one of the best seasons of anybody in the lineup. And Oklahoma, his win over Server locked up the duel, and that's the 6th time. Now, granted, his position in the lineup being towards the end, he has that opportunity more than others. But the fact that he's come through at Oklahoma State, at Iowa State, at home, I really am happy of what he's doing, because, like I said, he was the one that they were so bent on bringing in other people, even at the start of the second semester, and you know who I'm talking about without saying his name, and yet you see what he's done. Now, who has he wrestled? That Server was decent. He's had some decent wins. He hasn't, other than Aaron Brooks, really hasn't had that top guy. But he's done what's asked of him and who's in front of him, right?
Mhm.
Um, but just another, how fitting was it for them to get a big win at Oklahoma State, last duel of the regular season, and him putting the final nail in the coffin there for that victory. I just thought it was fitting and glad that hope this carries over into the postseason for Zach Glazier.
Right, and Server's, I mean, he's a similar level ranked wrestler. So to get a nice win against him, that's nice. And his match with Brooks there wasn't a big gap, as I recall. It was a fairly close score, right? Regular decision.
5-1, I think. Yeah.
5-1, yeah. And so again, I asked you, do you think he's underranked? And we haven't wrestled anyone from 2 to 8 was your response, and so yes, maybe he is, but we don't know. So we're going to find out at Big Ten, and we're going to find out at nationals for sure. And that might have served him well to gain that confidence throughout the season that he's just been wrestling with. And that incident at the Soldier Salute, I think that was a real nice thing for him, because it amped up his attitude, his confidence, his grit. So I just don't think that was a bad thing for him, other than the incident itself, but
right.
afterwards, and it certainly brought the fan base into his corner. That plus his success that he's had. So kudos to you, Zach. Keep it rolling.
Yep. Here are some of the. So you mentioned the Big Ten. You've got Aaron Brooks, obviously, number one. Then the next ranked Big Ten 197 pounder is Jackson Smith of Maryland, who Iowa has not faced this year. This is the win. This is win rankings that we received yesterday. And then Smith is 10th, Glazier's 11th. You've got Silas Allred, who I think was really the kind of the breakout win for Glazier. He's 13th. And then that's it as far as the top 20 according to win. So, you would expect a good finish and see how he does against Smith and Allred again. Assuming he sees one of those two on his side of the bracket, opposite of Brooks. But then how will he be against a Michael Beard or Jacob Cardenas of Cornell? Stephen Little from Little Rock is a redshirt freshman ranked 9th. That 6 through 10, I think, not overly intimidating, right? With names and ranked guys. The top 5, you've got Brooks and Hidlay, Tanner Sloan, Stephen Buchanan, who's now at Oklahoma, Michael Beard. Still, gosh, you think the way that he's wrestled, he could hang with a lot of those guys right now, and we'll see.
Right, and 97 is a weight class where kind of like sometimes at heavyweight, anything can happen.
Right.
And maybe more so at 97. Because you got those are the kind of weights where you've got football players that had to make a decision. Do I want to wrestle in college? Do I want to play football in college? And then a lot of them go football. And see that kind of thins out the herd, so to speak, at those two weights. Mm-hmm. And there's some years when heavyweights just we've watched that in the last few years, where it's just been really loaded, or there's just been some great standout, and then not too bad after that. And then right. So it's kind of that way at 97. You got one that just stands out. Then you've got, it really could go any way with, maybe even clear down to, hopefully down to 11, right? So,
mm-hmm.
Of course, we want Tanner Sloan to do well, but Tanner's beatable as well. He wrestles wide open sometimes, and that can sometimes open you up for failure there too. So, good luck to Tanner. I don't want to snake bite him.
Right. And well, just one last thing of note from Iowa on my part. Looking at the rankings from Win, um, two people we have talked about already, Arnold and Peter, not in the rankings. So
There
that
you go.
tells me somebody's probably talked and said, okay, should we rank so and so? And they're like, yeah, no, he's not going to be going. Now, that's not in cement. That could change, but I think we're seeing that. Uh, I would bet that Riggins and Hill end up getting the nod for the postseason.
Is Hill ranked at heavyweight?
No,
So he's not ranked either.
right.
Riggins wouldn't be ranked, but I think you're right. If we'd have seen Hill, then I would have said for sure. But Hill's kind of on the bubble there, whether he's rankable or not. So
Yeah, he's probably in that mid 20. Well, Win only goes 1 to 20. He's probably in that 24, 25, 26 range.
yeah. So and then
Yeah.
the coach. A lot of times the coach will nominate, or the whoever's doing the rankings will contact the coach and say, like you just suggested, do we rank him? And that's maybe a good indication right there. They're redshirt, and I agree with you. Okay, that's good to know.
Um, let's move to Big 12 duels this weekend. Missouri coming through. Really pumped up for their trip to Cedar Falls and to Ames. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see a lot of what we had hoped for. Um, Flu apparently kind of ripped through the team. Um, Brian Smith said they had 8 reserves that wrestled at Cedar Falls on Friday. Of course, UNI ended up winning 8 matches and won 31-6, I believe. Um, and of course, one of those guys that did not wrestle, Keegan O'Toole, which prevented us from seeing David Carr versus O'Toole on Sunday in Carr's final match in Hilton. He finished with a pin, but um, I almost got the feeling that even though Missouri kind of announced, like I think it was during the day Friday, that on Twitter they said, "Hey, due to illness, we're shorthanded. We're not going to have our regular lineup to let people know." I got the feeling that Dresser thought there might be a little more something to it, that this might be a strategy from Smith, not bringing his full team on the trip. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but he seemed to think maybe there's some strategy involved with who did come and who didn't, but you know, still disappointing, regardless of the reason that we didn't see UNI and Iowa State against a full Missouri team.
Well, I didn't see the quotes or whatever from Dresser. When you're pulling, there were 6 guys out of the lineup that didn't wrestle the meet before. Who did they wrestle before? I forget who they wrestled, but 6 of the guys were out of the lineup, including 4 top 10 wrestlers. O'Toole number 1, Brock Mahler was the 11th, so there's that 5th one. Then you have Noah Shurtan at 25. He's ranked 7th. Rocky Elam at 197 is 8th. And Peyton Mako at 174. He's ranked 10th. So, I mean, you're holding out 5. I can't believe you're holding guys out, that many out. Maybe you had 4 out or 5 out, and now O'Toole's not feeling the best. Maybe that's what Dresser was leaning towards, because that's the biggie. You want to get that's David's chance to become the number 1 seed. I would think, to be able to get that win over O'Toole. Otherwise, O'Toole's would probably be number 1, and maybe now it becomes a little bit. I think David would be number 2, but he does have that loss. So
Sure. And I kind of, why would you do that for one and then throw, Elam at heavyweight to the wolves, right? If you're strategizing that, I, you know, and not to mention, I don't think somebody like Keegan O'Toole would want to do that. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be something like, hey, why don't you take this weekend off? Oh, sure, yeah, no problem. Especially with the chance to wrestle David Cargan. That's something competitors don't
I
shy
don't
away.
know, but I get the sense that he would not want to do that either. So yeah, and yes, exactly. Elam, which is Zach Elam at heavyweight. Yeah, he's kind of the lone ranked guy in the lineup. So, and he did not have a particularly good weekend. I just Younger Bastida just amazes me. That guy could win it all. He's that good. Holy cow!
He majored him 13-4, and had some very explosive.
Big
What
lip.
he's doing against 240, 250, 260-pound competitors, he's making them look like they're both 84-pounders. With him being able to lift and put guys down, and the way he's hitting shot, it's just really, we've said it multiple times. It's his move to heavyweight has probably been one of the best moves of just about anybody in college wrestling in the last few years.
Right. I mean, his speed and agility is so good, and now add that power and strength that you talked about, and you saw the finishes, the lifts that he did on Elam, he's not a small guy either. So,
Well,
so that's where I'm saying maybe he could win it all. I wouldn't bet against him, I guess.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be. I wonder, because if Bastida and Kirkville, if they meet, that more than likely is going to be in the finals of the NCAA tournament, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would, because Bastida is going to be probably 2 or 3. He'll be on the other side of the bracket. Yeah,
I would think so. But sometimes with those goofy seedings, you could kind of get an outlier that kind of sneaks in there and bumps everybody down. I just don't see it this year, especially with what he's done.
did,
Um, now,
did,
go ahead.
did that happen last year with Cassiope?
I think so.
Wasn't he a 1 seed below and put him on the same side of the bracket?
As Kirk Follett. I think that was because of Hendrickson, and then who was the other heavyweight in there that bumped him down to four?
Is Ferris still? No, he is.
I can't remember, but yeah, I think that's what did happen. That kind of that bumped him down, put him on the same side. Um, I don't see that happening to Bastida, but getting to the finals, having wrestled each other, or that being the first time, does that favor Bastida? Not getting his hands on, or Kirk Vliet not getting his hands on him, and kind of seeing what it's like to wrestle him, or does that favor Bastida, that being the first time that he faces the Penn State heavyweight? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I think it really, if I had to pick one that would favor, I think it would probably favor Bastida. Okay. Because Bastida's kind of an unknown. He goes out and fires them off as well, and is very aggressive and has a high pace, and so I think that would benefit him, not letting Kirk Vliet have had that match previously or whatever. So,
see, I would agree with with his style, and his, as you mentioned, his athleticism, his quickness. I think you'd want to get your hands on him one time during the season just to kind of feel that out, kind of understand, what exactly you're dealing with, and getting your hands on him and kind of understanding, all right, when we get in this position, I have to make sure I do this, or I can't do this, or else that's going to feed right into, his leg attack or his offense. When I'm on top, I can ride this way. Um, when we're on the mat, he likes doing this. I just think that I agree with you. I think that favors Bastida not facing one another. And of course, we're putting the cart in front of the horse. They've got to get there first. Um, but I tell you what, I would not be surprised to see Younger Bastida and David Carr both wrestling Saturday night.
Yeah,
in Kansas City.
Yeah, and Kirk like he's a pretty athletic and agile guy as well. So that might.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. That's an intriguing matchup for sure. Absolutely.
Yep. Of course, they've got a lot of hurdles to clear here with the Big 12s, Big 10s, but that was definitely a big, impressive win over Elam, 13-4, to cap off Iowa State's 41-3 win there. Echemendia, he had a big win too at 141, beating Josh Edmond, 10-9. Big comeback, I believe, there for him to score late. Edmond was coming off a win over Cale Happel, UNI on Friday, so nice win for Echemendia. Evan Frost with a technical fall. Same with Casey Swiderski. David Carr, even though it wasn't the big match that everybody was looking forward to or hoping for, he got a pin to cap off his home career at Hilton, which was a nice way for him to go out.
Absolutely. I mean that guy's been an institution there, and he's a really good kid too, and great family. And so, yeah, hopefully he can repeat it at once, or not repeat, but win another title at once.
Win another title.
So,
yeah. Anything else? I mean, it's tough to really kind of pull much out of that Missouri duel just because, the lineup that Missouri was fielding. One thing of note that was covered last week in Dresser's press conference, people will see that Ethan Perryman received a forfeit at 125 for Iowa State. That's because Kyson Terakina's had some legal trouble. Apparently, kind of like a probation violation where maybe some miscommunication with a PO, and Terakina kind of missed reporting or something to that effect. So he's had some legal issues. Kevin Dresser addressed it last Tuesday or Wednesday when he had his media availability. But they're working with him. Whether or not he's in the lineup for the Big 12 kind of depends on kind of what he, according to Kevin Dresser, depends on how he responds to what happened. And sounds like he's taken ownership of it. And how he kind of works in practice and deals with the situation will determine whether or not we see him for the postseason.
Right. And that's, that's a nice family. At least that's my impression. His brother was Kyle's teammate, and Kyle had great words for his brother. Not that we didn't discuss this matter at all, but when when they were teammates, he had a lot of respect for his brother, and so I think it's, like you said, it's a miscommunication, but that's on him. He's got to man up and be an adult and answer to those. And on the other hand, if it's a probation violation, not to downplay that at all, but it's not like there was another crime or incident that went on. This is just I'm supposed to go into the probation officers got to do what they got to do, and good for them. But like I said, that's on Caratina for not taking care of matters there, and but I don't think it should hold him out of postseason at all.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that Kevin Dresser kind of mentioned, and definitely not condoning anything. I mean, if you have things that you've got to meet for your probation, you've got to do that. But Dresser kind of mentioned, he did reach out, maybe instead of calling or talking to him in person, it was an email or a text or something like that, where thinks that suffices for what he's doing. It turns out it doesn't. You don't know that, or you think you're being compliant. It turns out that doesn't fulfill that, and you just don't know. But it sounds like he attempted to, and then found out later maybe that wasn't good enough.
Right.
So I don't think it was anything real nefarious. Going off what Dresser shared with the media, but still, it's an infraction. You've got to deal with it, and we'll see just how he responds. We'll find out how he responds, whether or not he's going to be in Tulsa the weekend after next. So
I'd be
hopefully everything gets ironed out the way it should.
right, and I'd be shocked, surprised, and disappointed if he wasn't. If that's all what this issue is about. So if it's deeper than that, then we're not aware. So
you and I had a nice final weekend of the season. We mentioned their win over Missouri as well, winning 8 of 10 weight classes against the Tigers. Of course, we talked about the lineup, obviously, but still some good wins there. You look at kind of what Ryder Downey, Wyatt Volker, some of those guys, what they were able to do. That was a good team win for them. But they followed it up with a pretty decisive win over Wisconsin, 27-11 on Sunday. So really good weekend, I think, for them overall.
Right. And let's start right at the top. Parker Kakaisen, man, that guy, if that guy can keep it rolling, man, I wish the best for him to be on top of that podium in March. But he beats Colton Hawk from Missouri. Colton Hawk was the only winner, and he beat Feldkamp in the Iowa State match.
Right.
And actually put 12 points on the board against Feldkamp. So, and then Kakaisen majors. Was it a major? Let's see. Yeah, it's 12-2 major over Hawks. So, I mean, he just an Energizer bunny that keeps rolling, and he's so fun to watch. And so you got to start there, really, in my opinion. And then the downside was, of course, our buddy, Cale Happel, that lost a 4-3 match to Edmonds from Missouri, and then he rebounded and got a technical fall against Wisconsin, but that one kind of stubbed his toe there in that Missouri match.
Ryder Downey again. He got a win against Wisconsin. He has definitely put together a season. I'm really, really excited to see how his postseason plays out.
Agreed. He's this last month, he's been on a tear, in my opinion. He's really done a nice job, and so hopefully he can keep that rolling and pulling for him, Indianola kid. So
yep. And I'm getting vibes of a Steyer out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit better. Steyer becoming an All-American. I mean, I just get a Steyer feel out of him, and I think there's some big things sitting in front of him here. And he's had some great wins, so I'm just really, really anxious to see how the postseason plays out because we know that could be totally different than the regular season for some wrestlers for various reasons. But I hope he continues things um, into Tulsa and hopefully Kansas City as well.
With Downey, I get the feeling, yeah, I don't know him very well, but I get the feeling he's just got this kind of this tough attitude. He's not going to back down from any tough match or anything like that, and he's not going to ball up and curl up or whatever and roll away or whatever. He's
Right.
going to be in there for the battle, and I like that.
Yep. Uh, Jared Sema had a nice win at 174 against Wisconsin. Uh, he beat Max Mailer, who's kind of ranked in that mid-teens range. Put together a 16-6 major decision there, so big win for him heading into the postseason. And then Wyatt Volker, he had a major decision, 12-2 at 197. That's his seventh straight victory for him to close the regular season. So looks like he's kind of getting closer to peaking here. Ever since the Iowa State duel, he's come out on top. The last loss coming to, I believe, a ranked kid from Utah Valley, which is his last one. So,
Right.
last loss.
Those guys that you mentioned really have been springboarding on. SEMA, like you said, Mailer is 12. Intermat has him ranked 12th and has SEMA ranked 29th. So that was a real nice win. A big win for him there. And then Volker with it's good to see him going. He put in a good hard off season. Volker did, and to put himself in position for his this is his first full year right on varsity here, and so I think that's going to be whatever happens in postseason is going to be fun. But I'm looking forward to next season as well to see. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. I want to finish up this one, but I just see that guy keeping improving all the way through here.
How big is it for UNI to close out with two big wins like that?
Well, the Missouri one is that's cool and it's fun and all that, but it has to be kind of a little bit of a not deflating, but just kind of we got her, we should have had it with the 5 ranked guys.
Kind of that meh.
Yeah, so at least you're not dealing with a loss, and or even maybe quite possibly a whooping. You never know. And
sure.
And and then the Wisconsin meet ended up being a bit of a battle early on, and then UNI ran away with it in the upper weights. But so that was nice to take charge and take command there. But so I think it was good. I think it's real important. That, by the way, this is the 100th season. I think we mentioned that early on, way at the beginning of the year. Just to remind everyone, the 100th season of UNI wrestling.
Wow. Wow, quite a milestone, a nice way to kind of close off the regular season for that. But just a big season in general, from everything from maybe the not so good with the West Gym situation, but then finding out that they're gonna find a way to create a new facility through the for people that don't know, it's a campus wide improvement campaign that's going to be a part of. So you go from having to find your own home to hearing plans for a better facility all around. Had some good performances throughout the year. And then capping off the regular season with wins. It's been a real interesting season for UNI all the way throughout, hasn't it?
Right. I had forgotten or just put it aside that they'd lost their workout facility and their competition gym and the old gym. I mean, I spent 4 years in that place, and that was home. They used to have some small concerts in that building, and and just there's so much history in that. And I forgot about it. And, kudos for Sean Kelly for stepping up and providing a facility for the UNI team to compete in. But that's off campus, and that's a hardship when you have to be able to travel away to your facility. I don't even think it has shower facilities. I could be wrong, or I haven't been in it, but that's what I thought I heard. So that again is another hardship there. Kids have to go home and shower or whatever, and so.
Right.
Good. I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Because it really has been just a different year, and kudos to the guys on that team because they've really embraced everything. I still remember how, kind of the improvements in the word, like freaking painting walls.
Yeah.
Of the, how many D1 athletes would you go to and say, you know what, this season, we're going to throw you in the gym to work out. If you don't like that, you have to go off campus, find your own facility. And then when you get there, they're like, oh yeah, all the touch-ups, putting up the pads and the mats, you're going to have to paint the walls too. How many D1 athletes would go, all right, whatever we need to do, let's do it. And that's what these guys have done.
Right. And then your reward is later on in the season, because of snow and other things, you get to jump into a van, drive in a blizzard down to Ames and wrestle
right.
in the Iowa State wrestling room with no spectators. Oh,
right.
What a season, and it's, those types of things honestly can draw a team together. It can be a bonding, experience that early on working on the room, and the facility. And then, you can say we're going on the road. We're not going to duck anyone. We're going after our competition, whatever, in the room, and, kind of get the motivation going and amongst yourselves. And so that's it. They're making the good out of the bad, and good for them.
And it helps when you have somebody like a Parker Keckeisen too. We've ad nauseum have talked about what he's done and what type of wrestler he is on the mat in competition. But the fact that your national finalist is one of the first ones to grab a ladder, grab a paintbrush, grab a hammer or a screwdriver, and be there before practices to do, to help with a project, and then, stay after to clean up or mop the mats or whatever. That's your national finalist. That's your top ranked guy doing the yeoman's work. That goes a long way, for the guy that comes into that, to that wrestling room, without humility, and then to see, the number one ranked guy in the country doing stuff like that because, one, he wants it to be best for himself and his teammates, and two, because that's what the team, team first attitude kind of calls for. I just think that is a great sign of a leader, and kind of a servant leader at that.
Right. You get, just by listening to and hearing those stories and watching on the mat, you get the feeling that he's a blue collar worker, and a blue collar leader, do as I do, sort of a leader, and, but let's face it. Let me ask you this. First of all, let's face it, the UNI season is going to be a success only, in my opinion. This is going to be a great season, but it's only going to be a success when he's on top of the podium, because that guy, anything less than that, it's going to be a disappointment for him. That being said, throw out Aaron Brooks, and I'm not even so sure anymore about Aaron Brooks. Bring him a little bit back into the mix, but throw out Aaron Brooks. Who's your next person that you would say, okay, I'm banking on this guy to win a title? If you go through the weights, Keckeisen seems to be out in front of almost everyone else at 84. Whereas you go to the other weight classes and you got some big, obviously 25. And we know a 33. There's some mixes there. 41. We've got mess there. So he might be the next guy after Brooks and Brooks has kind of came back to the pack a little bit in my opinion. So
I would say I would have said Starochi maybe without that injury that just happened. Now who knows with that, but yeah, with the way Kekheisen has wrestled and how he's just obliterated opponents of any ranking, with Tech Falls and majors, I just don't see it's just his to lose, right?
Right.
You compare that to like you said 125 where you could you could roll the dice and it would come out in a different order just about every time.
Right.
So if you're in fantasy wrestling contests, save 125 as your last pick because more than likely you're going to get somebody that's going to do well regardless of when you pick them because you just don't know how that's going to play out.
Right. And then you look at 165, you got a mess there a little bit too, O'Toole and
Yeah.
that we've been talking about and then as Griffin's a 74, he's 74, isn't he?
Who's that?
Shane Griffin.
Yeah, 74.
So he's 74 and he's like third or fourth ranked, didn't he now?
Yeah.
So champion. Jeez.
Yeah, when just to expand on 65, we talked about the season that Olenek has. He's probably going to be like a 5 or a 6 seed now, but 165. Sure, you've got O'Toole and Carr leading the way, but then you've got Messingbrink from Penn State. You've got Hamony from Wisconsin. Julian Ramirez from Cornell is, I think, ranked 7th, and he's a guy that has a win over Carr this season. So you're even looking at Cam Amin, who's been an All-American, and he's ranked 10th right now. I mean, that's a deep weight class that would it surprise you if Dean Hamody's in the finals? A little bit, but he's a guy that could be, so you've got a deep class where Kekheisen, it's not that his weight is bad, it's just he separated himself from everybody on that list.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. He's been because he's wrestled when they've wrestled, I think at least 2 that I can remember that were ranked second at the time they wrestled, that he's beaten them, at least 2 that I can remember. What's Penn State kid's name? It's escaping me right now. Truax early on in the All-Star meet, and then Plotz, didn't they wrestle? I think second when they wrestled a couple weeks ago. And so at least those, I mean, and there's that's kind of a scramble. He's just, I mean, and I hope he does, because that's a guy you really want, that blue collar guy. And I didn't mean to get off on that tangent. We can break down that for the Nationals, but
sure. But yeah, it definitely it would be a disappointment. I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go that far to say it'd be a disappointment if he doesn't win it, just because that's a hard thing to do. But certainly that's the expectation, right? That he does. And I would think there's got to be an expectation of possibly, 3 All-Americans coming out of that lineup. Maybe, 2 to 3. I think you would hope for. When you got Happel, Downey, Kekheisen, I'm sure they're hoping and thinking they have more, but having Keckheisen there on Saturday night again, getting a couple more on the stand with them. I think that's something that they should be looking for or hoping for here in the next couple of weeks.
Right, and you got to get there first, but I got to think they're hoping like a SEMA, a Gordon, Farber. We talked about
Yep.
he'll battle, and even Anderson at 25. I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say, don't overlook Trevor Anderson because I think there's some sneaky potential there.
Right. So there's and obviously got to get there. So we'll get through Big 12s first. We'll talk about that later.
Sure. Hey, let's do you have any teeing off with Briggs since you have been golfing a little bit?
I do. Do you want to finish up D3 yet, or do you want to do? Let's do tee
Well,
off.
why don't we tee off and then we'll get into the upcoming D3 and D2 regionals. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it'll be. This one kind of deals with D3, so the teeing off. So the topic is we're all right to do it.
Okay.
My topic is 18 qualifiers for the NCAA tournament is ridiculous. So here we are. And so I realize the NCAA is too busy to trying to stay in business to be worried about Division II and Division III non-revenue sports championship participation numbers. However, let's do it. Let's go there anyway. D1 has 33 qualifiers per weight. NAIA has a 32-man bracket, though it's usually about 28 per weight. And then D2 and D3 have 18. So here's how they set it up. 6 regionals with 3 qualifiers per weight. That's a different argument in itself that we've discussed. All right. Okay. So we'll set that aside. So let's focus for a minute on D3. According to the NCAA website, there are 124 D3 schools compared to 67 in D2 and 78 in D1. That's a little bit more than half the number of the D3 schools, or a little bit less. Anyways, it's about half, right? Anyway, with 10 weight classes that are there are theoretically 1,240 D3 wrestlers competing for 180 spots, right? So there's 124 schools times 10, 1,240 D3 wrestlers. Obviously, there's going to be forfeits and so somewhere, but then in D1 you'd have 780 that are vying for 330 spots. That's somewhere. So that puts the D1 wrestlers at 42% of them are going to qualify. The D3 wrestlers, it's a whopping 15% of that number have a chance to qualify. And at D2, that's a 27% chance. Still not a great improvement there. And if you'll remember, in 2021, the NCAA hosted Division I and Division II, if I have the year right anyway, wrestling championships, but they shunned D3. That's when the NWCA had to step up and host a tournament there. So, in my opinion, they cast it aside 9, if I remember right, 9 sports, not just wrestling, but 9 championships that year, if I remember right. Anyway, to me, that's a sign to the D3 schools where your hierarchy is in the NCAA standings, or their thoughts anyway. So NCAA, if you increase your participation, increase your attendance, then you'll increase revenue. It's the old build it and they will come.
Right.
So come on, NCAA, wake up, or should I say man up while you're still relevant. That's it.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. It's just such a disservice to the D3 athletes that you mentioned 15% representation at the national tournament compared, that's almost a third of what you said roughly of at the D1 level. So,
it's not that much harder to make it a 32-man bracket, bring in the teams. yeah, it's going to cost a little bit, but you're going to make more at the gate because you're going to have a lot more people and their families and such that are going to come in and bring revenue to the city so that's to whatever city is hosting,
Right.
get perks there, I guess, or whatever we call it. So anyway, that's my teeing off this week.
No, I agree, and of course, we'll see that kind of play out here over the next 2 weeks with the regionals coming up this weekend. Um, the Lower Midwest Regional is this Thursday and Friday at the Alliant Energy Powerhouse here in Cedar Rapids. Now that's where you're going to have all the American Rivers Conference schools. You also have like Augustana, Illinois, North Central will be coming over, Cornell from the Midwest Conference. Couple of schools from Missouri, even the team from Texas coming up in Shriner, Texas. University of the Ozarks from Arkansas coming up as well. Milliken is back over. Huntingdon from Alabama. Illinois Wesleyan. I think the field's grown a little bit. They threw more teams, I think, in the Lower Midwest Regional this time around. And like you said, just the top three advance. But kind of interesting. You just look at the very first weight, and you're talking about the qualifiers, and you've got three of the top four wrestlers ranked by D3Wrestle.com at 125, with Guzman from North Central, Kuntz from Dubuque, Blasioli of Milliken are 1, 2, and 4 in the latest D3Wrestle.com rankings. And then you've got Birchman from Wartburg, who's ranked 9th. So you've got 4 top 10 caliber wrestlers. Granted, according to rankings, somebody's subjective opinion, but still, one of them absolutely will not wrestle at the NCAA tournament, if not more, because the field, you've got other guys in the field that could sneak in and knock them off. You've got Hornback from Coe, Hedges from Eureka, who's pretty good. So just right out of the gate, you've got a weight class like that you've got possibly an All-American caliber wrestler that just won't even get a chance to advance.
Right. And then throw in I'm not even sure who you mentioned it for Wartburg at because Levi has been wrestling there.
Okay, I just mentioned Birchman, who was the last one in the rankings.
Birchman, okay, and so the NCAA coaches rankings came out yesterday, and they have Levy.
Okay,
he's 4th, and so again, he only can put one guy out there, but still, that's that depth in that
makes it even tougher. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
Exactly, and so it's just crazy. I mean, so I kind of broke it down as to our area schools. This is why we love D3 so well, because it's kids that we've been watching grow up, and a lot of Iowa high school kids. So I'll start with Coe. Coe has 4 kids that are ranked by the NWCA coaches as of yesterday that would, if they wrestled to their ranking, then and to their seating, I assume that's how it'll be seated. But Esmoil at 65 is ranked 2nd. LJ Richardson at 74 is ranked 3rd. Jared Voss at 84 is ranked 3rd. And Matt Arsenal at 197 is ranked 3rd. They've got 6 others in the top 8. So, they've got some shots we just talked about Kate Hornbeck, who has an opportunity. He's 5th there. Then Loris has Eric Kincaid at 3rd at 149. Zeb Ganida, Solon grad, is 2nd at 174, and they have 3 others in the top 8, including Jalen Schropp from Williamsburg, who's 5th And then University of Dubuque has Brady Kuntz, who's seated third, and then 5 others in the top 8. Wartburg has 9 in the top 3, and then Levi or whoever the other one was at 25 that is right there, and so they could and probably will. It's likely they could qualify all 10. Luther has 157 Clayton McDonough, who's second. And at 285, Walter West, who's second. And then you have 5 others that are in the top 8, although those are pretty low, like 6th, 7th, and 8th. So those would be a much longer shot to qualify. Cornell has Cale McLaren, who's been doing very well at 184. Mm-hmm. He's ranked second. And then they have in the top 8, they have 4 they've got a 4th, 2 5ths, and an 8th. So there's some opportunity to sneak in there as well. Hey, BV. I had to throw this one in. They've got a guy that's Axel Hernandez at 149. He's ranked second, right? So, and then just to kind of show the next team after Wartburg, it's North Central. By the way, Wartburg's ranked number 1. North Central's ranked number 4, and they have 6 in the top 3. They have 5 number 1 seeds. Wartburg has the other 5 number 1 seeds. Then North Central has 6 number 2s and 2 number. They have 2 number 6s and 2 number 8s, so they have some outside chances of sneaking in a couple more. So my pick for the D3 regional is Wartburg's going to probably win it, and then North Central second, and I'm going to go with Dubuque, and Central in that order. So that's my picks for D3 regional. So we'll see how it plays out.
The tournament begins Thursday. They'll finish up Friday night. Kind of a little bit of a different situation. They brought the lower Midwest regional back to Iowa after I believe it was in Southern Illinois the last time, right? Springfield. Okay. So had been at Dubuque for a number of years. Brought it back, had to find a venue. It'll be at the Alliant Energy Powerhouse, and the reason Thursday, Friday were the only days that they could get, so it's not that big of a deal. Just a couple days ahead of its normal schedule. But
now, that being said, I talked to Jared Voss last weekend when he was roughing where I was, and there was 2 weekends ago, the state meet weekend, and his comment was, I'm not too excited because I have to miss another day of classes.
Really?
So, yeah, because Thursday, Friday, now you're missing 2 days of classes rather than Friday, Saturday, where you'd only miss 1. So we sometimes forget these guys are students too.
That's right. They have other obligations that they've got to meet. Part of that student athlete experience. So yeah, that definitely gets overlooked a little bit. But what weight do you think is at the D3 regional there? What weight are you most excited to really kind of see play out?
I always like 165. I haven't looked real close at it, but let's take a look. I just off the top of my head, 65. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's see here. Prieson's at 33 as a defending champ. He's what, 2-time champ, I think, and that's a pretty much a lock. Of course, we like Joe Pins from Hampstead, and Wartburg, good family there. And then looking quickly here, 65 has Villar is the number 1 ranked guy there from North Central. Then S. Moyle, then Fuller from Wartburg.
We got guys like Dustin Boren from Loris, McDonough from Luther, Smiley from Dubuque in the mix as well.
Right. In that order, yeah.
So yeah, pretty deep weight class. Of course, you could probably close your eyes and throw a dart at a weight class and see a pretty good field, right?
Right, exactly. And regional is a little more easy. It's easier to seed when you get to national, and we'll see this with especially Division III and Division II as well. But it gets so spread out when you start ranking it. They never wrestle to seed because it's hard to seed. Especially D2. Right. I mean, it stretches from coast to coast for the most part. From D3, I think the furthest west school is Nebraska Wesleyan, and then everything else is east of here. But it still goes to the East Coast. So you get guys ranked, and then we'll see a number one go down first round likely.
We've seen that first session upset a few times, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yep.
So look forward to that this Thursday and Friday down there. Upper Iowa has its regional as well this weekend. They head all the way to Minot, North Dakota, for their region. Their regional on Saturday, I believe, right? Just a one-day event.
Right, two sessions, one-day event on Saturday. You bet. And they've got their regional is tough. They've got Augustana, who's third, St. Cloud State, who's fourth, Wisconsin Parkside is ranked fifth. Then you got University of Mary, always tough. They're 12th. Upper Iowa is 16th, and Northern State is 17th. So they've got a very tough district regional. And the way I see it, I think Upper Iowa will have two kids that'll be seeded, and if they wrestle to seed, they'll qualify. That's Tate Murdy at 141. He's ranked sixth. That's how tough this regional is. He's ranked sixth, but he's going to have the third seed. Eric Fott, who's ranked 10th, he'll have the fifth seed at 157, in my opinion, if based on rankings. So I don't know if that was how it'll end up the seeding wise. But then Chase Lunsman, who was a champ last year, he's ranked third at 65. He'll have the number one seed. So at this regional, and then Coulter By at 184, he's ranked 11th, and he'll have the fifth seed again if it goes to the rankings. So my pick here is Augustana will win it, St. Cloud State second, and Wisconsin Parkside third. So there I'm going some picks.
Now remind me, how many did they take top four?
No, they take the top 18, just like D2. So 18 kids qualify, you bet. And so it'll wrestle back to that third, fourth place match becomes it becomes the who's going to nationals match.
Right.
A lot of times you'll because they wrestle them side by side. A lot of times there's more eyes watching the third and fourth place match than the championship match because
those two are already in.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to watch that third, fourth, and there's some battles usually. So it does make it fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, it should be. Just with Upper Iowa's had such a good season. It's just a shame things weren't spread out a little bit better. They're in a new conference and stuff, and they're still sending them that direction for regionals. It would have been maybe a little bit more beneficial if they were sent in a different direction for them.
Right. Yeah, that's disappointing for those kids, but the disappointing part is that only 18 kids qualify.
Yeah. That's your point is still the biggest part of that whole thing.
Yeah. NAIA, who are you picking at NAIA to win
it? I think I'll go with Grandview.
I'm gonna go along with you as well, Grandview.
Okay.
I'll say this though, life could make it close.
Well, we saw what they were able to do dual wise. So it certainly isn't a given with them, but you still like the Vikings though?
Oh yeah. Grandview, Life in Southeast Florida, go figure, Southeast Florida, have 12 qualified all 12 of their wrestlers. Menlo qualified 11, and Providence qualified 11 as well. And those are the top 5 teams. It's Grandview is first, Life second, Menlo third, Providence fourth, and Southeast Florida is the 5th ranked team. And anyway, the other Iowa teams that have qualifiers, Morningside, who's ranked 17th, has 7. Briar Cliff has 4. Northwestern Iowa has 2. Graceland has 4. William Penn has 2. St. Ambrose has 1, and Waldorf has 1. So lots of representation with the Iowa teams.
Oh, for sure. I think it's just getting stronger. Um, you know, I think the NAIA crop of wrestlers and teams have probably just considerably stronger than it has been in the past, from top to bottom.
Right. And I didn't count Life, but as I was going through, I think they have I think they might have 3 number 1 seeds and a bunch of other ones that are real high. I could be wrong there. No, but I know they have a few there. So that's why
So it really won't be a gimme at all.
No, unless Grandview gets on their roll. They've been known to do that at nationals. So
Yep. We've seen them put together kind of a Grandview versus Grandview match before.
right.
Pretty sure we've seen that in the finals even.
Right. What's the Prairie wrestler a couple years ago?
Josh Wanger.
Wanger, yeah, Josh, yeah. Wrestled in the finals against his teammate. And actually he was this lower seed, but won in the finals and beat his teammate, who was the higher seed. I think they were 1 and 2 or something like that. And Wanger beat him in the finals, if I recall. So you never know.
Yep. Hey, one thing I want to mention from this last week, Simpson held a regional for the NCWWC tournament. That's here in Cedar Rapids, the 8th and 9th of March. The University of Iowa, they qualified all 15 wrestlers to the national tournament. Just kind of looking, it looks like well, Simpson has I think 2 qualifiers. Out of that group, I believe the top 4 all moved on from the regional. Looking at Wartburg's results
2
here, I think they had a qualifier in Kylie Rule at 130, and Cami Sidlicki at 170 as well, got 4th. So Iowa has all 15 there. I know there might be some Hawkeye fans kind of maybe counting their chickens before they're hatched, but North Central has 15 on the way too, and we saw how those 2 went head to head in the national duels up in Cedar Falls. That was decided by the slimmest of margins. So I wouldn't build the trophy case quite yet for that title, because North Central, I don't think people understand. North Central has an amazing women's program. It really does. And I think this is going to be a good team race. Certainly Iowa should be favored, and very likely could win it, and maybe even do it decisively. But tell you what, if you think that North Central, who's the defending champ, McKendree won the first 3 titles until North Central won it last year. It's going to be a good competition, I think, with those 2 schools kind of leading the way.
Well, and McKendree, who really didn't run away. Iowa didn't run away with the regional title. It was 220 to 193. Iowa had 6 champs and 5 runner-ups. McKendree had 4 champs and 4 runner-ups. So, that they could be spoilers in there as well, knocking off some Iowa to make the way for North Central, or the other way around. So I don't see McKendree winning it, but they could be a spoiler with their medalists.
Yeah, and you got King. There some of these other teams certainly could play a factor. Maybe like you said, maybe not winning it, but certainly they can have an influence on a win here, a win there, um, preventing bonus points, what have you, to really affect other teams.
Yeah, exactly. And that's true in any tournament, but I think so really in this one. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Any other items you wanted to discuss
No,
here?
good stuff. Good stuff. It would be fun watching the regionals here in town and keeping an eye on the NAIA as well this weekend.
So, what's the best part of your golf game? We'll come full circle here. I'll ask you, what's the best part of your golf game, and what is your favorite local course to play?
Ask me each day what it is. Yesterday I was driving really well. Chipping was all right. Putting was so-so. Another day it could be putting all right, chipping, anyway. So you just have to ask me on what particular day. As far as my favorite course, Ellis has always been my home course. Not that I played all my life. I did more skydiving than golfing. Anyway, Ellis is cool, but man, Ellis got hammered with the derecho. And then
That I was just going to mention that Ellis was one of my favorites, but the back nine, which I thought was one of the hardest, the back nine at Ellis used to be one of the hardest uh, public back nines that I think we had around here. But when the derecho leveled a bunch of the trees and stuff, it just really, yeah,
right.
that made a difference.
And I'm old enough to know what the old Ellis was like. That old back nine.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh! But so yeah, they made it a little bit easier. Not I don't want to use easy. That's not a but a little more playable, user friendly. How about that? And then the derecho helped that out as well. But I suppose my favorite. I like It's just cool. It's so hard. A lot of people are afraid to go play it, and I'm not really good, but I like the course.
It's cool. Cool. I enjoy Wildcat as well. The course at Mount Vernon, quaint little 9-hole. I enjoy playing a little bit there. It's
Curiosity.
now called Trinasti. Yep. So I used to like going up to Center Point with my dad. Uh, it's not Rolling Acres. I um can't remember the name of it there, but a little
Played it.
9-hole course. Just the quaint little 9-hole course and stuff. So that and Ellis. They used to like Jones. Obviously, Jones has its own.
Jones is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
So
sad.
yeah, but that was one of my favorites. Really, before they redid it. You know, so um, yeah. So those are the ones I like going, and hopefully, we'll get out there pretty soon.
So when I played when I was little, and you might have done this, but you probably didn't. But we would get on a bicycle, and I had an old canvas, bag that was about this big, and I think I had a 5, a 7, and a 3, and a driver or something. Not even that, a 3-wood, and a putter, and put them on my handlebars, and we pedal up to Chapman's. Do you remember Chapman's?
Yes, Chapman's Fun World. Yep.
Yeah, play that.
Yep. Remember playing that. Yep. Uh, and I don't know if you remember this too. Um, there used to be like a par 3 course when I was younger. That's where Dad and I would go. It was like right behind a Menards on the borderline of like the border of like Cedar Rapids and Marion.
Oh, what was that little shopping mall called?
It was called Townhouse golf course. It was just a par 3 right behind like Jack's and a little strip mall there. That's where Dad used to take me to go play when I was younger. So we had a lot of fun there.
Those are the 2 par 3s, and that's what those courses were great for. To take the kids and
Yep.
and teach them how to play golf.
Yep. So, all right. Well, we got big weekend here. Like we mentioned, the D2, D3 regionals. D1 school is off this week as they prepare for their conference tournaments the following week. We'll talk more about that then. NAIA championships coming up as well. So we'll talk about that later. And Coach, why don't you send us out with our friend's favorite tagline?
Keep wrestling on the move.